Alright everyone, welcome back to another Game Vault video. As always, I'm Captain Beefy with the Game Vault, and we're going to talk about Cyberpunk 2077 today. Let's cue up the music and we'll get right into it. Alright, so CD Projekt Red executive admits that Cyberpunk 2077 was not dystopian enough after multiple visits to Californian cities. Yikes! That's bad. That's bad. If you don't know what's going on here in the U.S., I mean, if you are in the U.S., then you know what's going on in California. California is a toilet right now. It's been a toilet for quite some time. Under Gavin Newsom, the state is just deteriorating worse and worse. It's got probably the worst homeless population, the hugest homeless population in the U.S. That's partially because of the weather and partially because of the policies they enact over there that just attract, homeless people. And we'll talk about that in a little bit. But it's an absolute nightmare. San Francisco, people are crapping in the streets. Businesses are pulling out left and right. And I'm not talking about mom and pop stores. I'm talking about big businesses. Hotels. Big store chains. I think Walgreens pulled out. I think Saks Fifth Avenue or something like that. One of those big, department stores. A couple of them have pulled out. Yeah, it's just going downhill rapidly. It's a weird, it's become a weird place. It's like full of the super poor and then the uber rich, right? And it's almost kind of like echoing we always see these movies of the dystopian future where the rich live in these big, beautiful buildings and the poor live below them in squalor. You see it in stuff like Elysium, for instance, right? That was a good one, where they all lived on Elysium, that big floating space station and that orbited the Earth, and everyone on Earth was just living in hell, basically, and kind of like slaves to those people in a way. We're all indentured servants, whatever, however you want to look at it. It was absolutely awful. But that's a pretty common viewpoint, and that's what California is actually turning into right now. But let's get into this story a little bit and see what they got to say. So, CD Projekt Red Associate Game Director Powells Tweet recently revealed that the company's first foray into the world of Cyberpunk 2077 was not dystopian enough after he visited multiple cities in California. During a recent appearance on CD Projekt Red's Answer Red podcast, Sasko and a number of other CD Projekt Red executives were discussing the company's expansion to Boston as they work on a follow-up to Cyberpunk 2077, codenamed Orion. And we'll go right to the tweet here because it says everything in there. My chooms, I see you're asking, so I'd like to clarify. After the release of Cyberpunk 2077 Phantom Liberty, I'm going to focus primarily on the new Cyberpunk 2077 project, codenamed Orion. I'm moving to Boston together with the core team responsible for Cyberpunk 2077 to establish new studio and be the foundation of the North American team. Working together with the Vancouver crew and the devs from Warsaw, we're going to deliver you a banging next game. Do it, man. Let's go, bro. Do it. I hope you guys do it. For those of you who don't know, and if you're a gamer, you do know the story of 2077, but for those who aren't really that familiar with it, I'll briefly talk about it. It came out 2020, right? It was abysmal at launch. It was first advertised, I think, in 2016, something like that, or maybe even a little sooner than then. And they had the whole trailer thing, and it garnished a lot of attention. People were excited about it. And CD Projekt Red has also done a project like The Witcher 3, which is a little game you might have heard of. That was just a very highly acclaimed game. Just a fantastic game. They've got a whole TV series on it and all that, which is another story. But very highly acclaimed game. One of the best RPGs of the generation. I got thunder in the background. I've already tried to do this video twice, and the weather has screwed it up, but I'm going to keep pushing through. Hopefully this is the one. So, in any case, Cyberpunk 2077. So, while discussing the move to Boston, Sasko explained how it will allow the developers to be fully immersed in American culture where Cyberpunk 2077 takes place. Let me tell you something. Please don't get immersed in American culture, guys. Please. Our culture sucks right now. It's full of weirdos and freaks and just, Because if you do that, you're going to turn the game into a woke mess, especially if you try to cater to this woke, quote-unquote, modern audience. Do not buy that lie. If somebody from Sweet Baby Inc. comes to you, or Black Girl Gamers, or any of these other companies, kick them firmly in the ass and send them on their way out the door. Do not offer them a penny to consult for your game. You want to consult the game? I'll do it for free. Me and a million other gamers, all you got to do is ask. Put a question out there on Twitter, and we'll give you the answers. We'll consult for you. Free of charge, no problem. And I'm speaking on behalf of millions of gamers, I'm sure. Anyway, Sasko stated, being from Europe is like interesting. I sometimes feel like I'm in a camera, and some other reality, and just observing and taking snapshots. Okay, that makes sense. He then recalled, like, I remember us traveling a couple of times to, LA, San Francisco, and working on Cyberpunk, and then we sort of did the game, we shipped it, and I did even more traveling now. When I'm in the US, I see that we didn't push the envelope far enough in some places. As an example, he pointed to the homeless crisis in California. For instance, let's say the homeless crisis, and so on. Like, when I look at it, I'm like, we weren't far enough in 77. We thought that we were like Dystopian, but we just touched the surface. And unfortunately, yeah, he's correct, man. California's disgusting right now. So I played 2077 when it first came out. I played it on the PlayStation 4 Pro. I had a SSD drive that I had installed in there. I'd removed the regular hard drive and put that one in instead. I didn't have all the performance issues that people had on PlayStation, I know it got really shredded when it came out. I know that Sony eventually pulled it off the PlayStation Store for a while until the game got under control. And it was bad. I mean, people were just mortified and upset and pissed off. And, yeah, I wasn't one of them. I was enjoying the game. It wasn't perfect. I'll tell you that. I'll be honest. It wasn't perfect. It wasn't optimized that well, but it worked for me. My system handled it okay. Playing it now on the PlayStation 5 and looking back to the experience on the 4 Pro, well, it's a world of difference. And, so many updates to the game have made it better as well, but it's a world of difference. It's so much better now. But even back then, it wasn't unplayable, but it wasn't a masterpiece. Now I think it's a masterpiece now. And so do a lot of other people. It's just one of those games like No Man's Sky that has just become what it was supposed to be from the beginning, and unfortunately it took a little bit of a road to get there. But what I'm trying to say here is, back when they were designing the game and the guys came to America and all that, and I guess they did their research on California cities like LA and probably Oakland and San Francisco and all that, and saw what they're like there on the coast, and that's kind of loosely what Night City's based off of, one of those types of cities. They got to see how the different areas all kind of meshed together and all that, and they took these, you could see the influence there, because you have like you've got different regions with different types of people in there, and that you got the whole Chinatown thing and all that, and there's a big Asian population in California, so you can see these type of things. You got the Latinos and all that kind of stuff, and it works and it feels like a California city. But apparently they never anticipated how bad California was going to get and how quickly it was going to get there, because they never heard of Gavin Newsom at the time, I guess, and saw where America was truly going, where the United States was truly headed as we went into this absolute nightmare over there. It's all drugs, it's all, the homelessness. The homeless situation breaks my heart, because it's comprised mainly of mentally ill and people and drug addicts, and those two overlap quite a bit, and I feel bad, because here we are, we're sending billions and billions of dollars overseas to help other countries fight wars and battle this and save themselves from that and all that. And here we are in the U.S. with such a large group of people that are hurting and really don't have much hope. And that's frustrating to me. Yeah. Executive producer Dan Hernberg, who's working with Sasko on Project Orion, then added, "You're like, we had one homeless person in a tent somewhere." Yes. And an American's like, wow, that's like, nothing. Like, you need a whole city, I love the way they talk here. So it's very different in some of these areas where even I played Cyberpunk, that you kind of see these things like that, and you're like, wait, someone's like, oh, that's really bad. And you're like, no, that's barely scratching the surface of the differences, these subtle differences. Sasko then replied, exactly. We thought like, oh yeah, we're being edgy, with all that stuff. And I'm like, my walk to the train every day is even more edgy sometimes. As noted by CNN in July 2023, California has spent a stunning $17.5 billion trying to combat homelessness over just 4 years. But in that same time frame, from 2018 to 2022, the state's homeless population actually grew. Half of all Americans living outside on the streets, federal data shows, live in California. In fact, the outlet claimed at the time more than 170,000 unhoused people live in California alone. Unhoused people. What is that? Stop changing these terms. The terminology doesn't change. An unhoused person is a homeless person, okay? We used to call them bums, hobos, whatever. You know, some of those terms are kind of derogatory, I get it, but homeless person is not derogatory. It is an accurate assessment. It's like illegal immigrant, right? They wanted to change that one. They call it, what do they call it now? Undocumented citizen? Yeah, no, you're an illegal immigrant. In fact, if you want to change words and make it more accurate, let's call you a criminal invader, because it's a criminal act to come to my country and without documentation and sneak over the border and all. That's criminal, and you're invading my country by the millions. You know, yeah, criminal invader, I like that one. Unhoused people, no. Homeless people, it's a shame, it's sad and all that, but changing a word doesn't make it better. It doesn't, you know, maybe it makes these people feel better, like, oh, no, I'm worried about the unhoused people. No, changing words doesn't change a damn thing. So what do you guys make of Sasko's comments regarding the game not being dystopian enough after visiting a handful of California cities? Anyone from out in California, let me know how accurate is this? I mean, it's pretty bad out there. I know. I haven't been out to California myself, God, in 100 years. And the last time I only went as far as Death Valley. I'm not going into the cities and all that. I have zero interest in seeing the coast. I am in Florida. We have plenty of beaches and all. It's the same crap over there as it is here. Yeah, whatever. It's just a different ocean. But yeah, what do you guys think of all this? I can't wait to see what this sequel is going to be like and just how bad it's going to be, because look at it now. Look at California now. Look at how many you get these like riots, or not riots, these flash gangs, I think they call them, that all of a sudden are going to show up at a department store or at a Walgreens or whatever, run inside, and you got a few dozen people just stealing things left and right because there's no repercussions. There's no criminal repercussions. If it's under, I think, $1,000, you're just going to get away with it and no big deal, right? How is that sustainable? That's why these companies are pulling out of there. And now all of a sudden, I've seen videos of people, really upset. Good people, good California, they're people that live there. They're not part of the problem. And they're like, well, where am I going to get my groceries now? Where am I going to get this now? What am I going to do? And that's heart-wrenching, Maybe they can't move. They're not financially in a situation where they can move. Maybe their job that they do has them tied there or whatever. That's sad that the worst of the people out there are ruining it for everybody else. Because not everybody out there is part of the problem. A lot of people are just oblivious. A lot of, we call them normies. They just go to work, they come home, they watch their TV, they'll make little comments here and there. Oh, well, the price of eggs went up a little bit, but okay, But they're not really tuned in to what's going on in this country, and that's a shame. More people need to tune in. Share this video out there and let people know what's going on. Any type of video like this. Share it out with people. Comment on it. Push that algorithm forward. Don't forget to leave a like on it. Subscribe to the channel. Ring that bell for notifications. I'll see y'all next time. Until then, peace.